Hello and welcome to another video. Today marks my second podcast episode, which I have been really excited to film because I have a lot to share, both because it has been the holiday season and because I have both gotten and completed a lot of things. I have a lot to share today. So I'm going to try and go through this kind of quickly, but I do have a feeling that today's episode is going to be rather lengthy just because there's a lot to talk about, to the point that I wrote it all down because I feel like I'm certainly going to forget about something. So I'm going to try and start from the oldest project to newest. Last episode, I feel like really opened my eyes about how many projects overall that I have, which is a good thing to do, I think, to kind of assess and go through what you have and realize that maybe I should try and finish some of these up, which is how I felt after filming and editing that video. So I want to share some of those projects that I did get finished up, and it's quite a few of them, so I'm very happy. The first one that I will talk about, you may have seen if you watched my last video about my Christmas decorations that I made. I finished this little pillow, which I love how it turned out. I decided to add these little pink tassels just to make it a little fancier, but I feel like it went with my Christmas decor perfectly, and I was able to stuff it with a lot of fabric scraps that I have laying around, so it really didn't cost me much of anything to make as a whole. I would say I probably used maybe a skein of acrylic yarn. Obviously it's a combination of two, so it's kind of hard to judge, but it really wasn't all that much even with making tassels. So super easy project and something you could do like I did to practice my color work skills. So this was a lot of fun and very easy, and it's a fun little seasonal pillow, especially because I feel like pillows are so expensive. If you go to TJ Maxx or Home Goods and look at pillows, oh my gosh, they're $25 a pillow. This is all yarn that I had left over from previous projects. The green was a blanket I crocheted for my nephews. Well, there were two blankets for both of them. And the pink's left over from actually a baby blanket for my niece. So it was just scrap yarn that I had. So highly recommend. Really, really fun. Easy way to make your living area a little bit more festive. The next finished object that I have is another one that I was really close to being done with as of the filming of the first podcast episode, and it is this hot pink beanie. It's just a 1x1 rib knit beanie, so it's super stretchy. I originally started this last spring. It looks like a sock, it's so narrow, but I promise it's real stretchy. But I originally started this last spring to match a sweater that I made out of a lot of the same hot pink yarn, which I'll picture here just so you can see how these would go together. But I barely had anything left to finish on this, so I got it finished up a couple weeks ago. It's super comfy, super classic, just solid knit beanie. There's not a lot to say about it. I didn't follow a pattern for it. I find that with a medium weight yarn, a DK weight, I use a size US 8 needle and cast on between 70 and 74 stitches depending on the yarn. And I think I did 74 with this because I knew with rib it would shrink quite a bit, so I wanted a little bit more, and then just decreased for a couple rounds at the top, and that's your hat. So there's another project done. Let's see. Oh, I have a couple other ones that I don't have with me. The first one is the stocking that I talked about in the first podcast episode that I was a little unsure of, but I was really going to try and finish for this Christmas season, which I did, and I will put a picture of it here. There's another one that I have, or this is the first of a few that I have given away already, so I do not have it, but I feel like it turned out pretty good. Honestly, I was feeling moderately confident about it, and I gave it to my husband's grandma, and she was like, oh, this is so cute, and she really, really liked it. But then she hung it up with the other stockings, and oh my gosh, it is so much bigger than the other ones. I don't even know how my measurements were so far off, because I took a picture last Christmas with a yardstick next to one of them, like in a couple different directions just so that I could have some basic measurements of it. And I even tried to follow that, but it's just a lot wider, which it's hard to explain. But with the design that I did with the gingerbread lady, it was hard to make it any narrower without like cutting off parts of her body. A lot of the existing designs that are on the stockings that were already made are ones that like kind of wrap around the edges, so it doesn't really matter if they're cut off. So mine is probably the width of 1.5 of their existing stockings. So I feel like that looks kind of bad. My own stocking that I made is a lot bigger than everybody else's. And then I also didn't take into consideration, so I made it the same length as the rest of them, but they've had a lot of years to stretch out, and mine has not. I steamed it, so it should be like kind of sitting at the length that it will be permanently, but also something hanging off of a mantle for a month at a time does tend to, I'm sure, stretch out. I tried to put like a crochet chain in it along the side seam to keep it from stretching, but I think it's still gonna happen. So I do really like how it turned out, but I guess I'm just gonna get more things in my stocking than everybody else, totally by accident. I'm still gonna make one for my sister-in-law, and I told my husband I might make hers the same size, so at least there's a couple that look the same, so it's not just mine that is much bigger than everybody else's. So sorry. It does look cute with all of them because they're all like hand knit stockings now. So overall I think it was good, but oops, my scale was a little off, I guess. The next one that I have, I also only have a picture of. Actually, I took some video of, so I'll intercut it here. This is a scarf that I made for my mom for Christmas. I made her a hat for her birthday in September, and this is actually the same yarn that I used to make the hat I made this scarf with. It's from a skein that's like a fade skein, and the hat I took kind of the middle portion of, so it's sort of just a tan, and then I used the lighter and darker ends of it to make either half of this scarf. It's kind of like this triangular shape. It's similar to if you have seen the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. I know that's been a really popular pattern. I wanted something similar to that. I wanted this to be like kind of bulkier though, a little bit more warm than just stylish. So I just kind of figured it out myself. I really just did like an increase every other row or every third row, depending on where I was at in the scarf. And it took me, I think, 3 days to make, but it was like a weekend that I was just knitting the entire time. So it took a little bit of time, but overall, it was a pretty easy, fun knit, and she really liked it. So, but I've already given it away, so I can't show it to you here. I think that's, let's see, I gotta look at my list here. That is all the ones that I have given away. A couple other seasonal things. This is another one that if you watched my Christmas decorations video, you would have already seen, but I made these little hand knit tiny sweaters as Christmas ornaments, and you might notice they're all slightly different shapes because I was kind of just trying my own thing as per usual. I like to just come up with my own patterns. I think this one turned out, oh, that's the back. Don't look at that one. The stripes don't look very good. This one, oh my gosh. This one turned out the best. But I was just doing like a really basic little raglan sweater, and then I used floral wire that I had to twist these little tiny hangers. You can only see the top of them, but it's actually a little hanger inside of there, to then use them to hang on the Christmas tree. And I just think they're so cute and adorable, and I just love them. You've probably seen them before because I know these are always really popular to knit for Christmas ornaments, but I wanted some of my own. So this was a little side project that I started for the season. Next up, I've got another gift that I've been working on. Now, this project is like contrary to something that I said in my first podcast, where I said, I just don't really understand like the draw of sock knitting. It takes so long to make stuff, and my yarn is just so special and nice. I don't want to ever make socks out of it. Well, I made a pair of socks. So this is a gift for my grandma. Now, my grandma is the kind of person that loves handmade gifts. She handmakes stuff all the time, so she really, really appreciates that. If you are a crafter, you probably are equally prudent about who you give handmade gifts to, because you never want to be in that situation where you give somebody a gift that you have worked many hours on, and then it turns out that they just don't really like it or don't really wear it or give it away or give it to Goodwill because they don't really understand the significance of a handmade gift. And my grandma is somebody who understands that significance. So I wanted to make her something. I've made her a gift for probably the last 5 Christmases. I made her an apron one year. I have made her a little matching set of hot pads. I've knitted her washcloths, just little things like that that I know she can use, that she always really enjoys. And this year I could not come up with anything, and I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I bet she would really enjoy like a cozy pair of socks. So I went digging through my stash and I picked out this purple yarn. This is one I've had for a while. It is a sock weight yarn, actually from Hobby Lobby. And I know that I didn't have a ton of time. I started this probably a couple weeks ago, so I was really on a time limit. So I held it double-stranded, and I did use a pattern for this because I was not gonna just try and wing it with a sock, something I've never done before. It is, it's called Patons. It's like the yarn brand Paton, and I have like a little booklet by them. I don't have it out here, but I have a little booklet that's all sock knitting patterns, and this is just their basic. I did the DK weight sock since I was holding it double strand, and then this is like a random skein that I had of DK weight Superwash Merino, and I don't even remember the brand. I had never heard of it before, and it's the only skein I had of it, so I thought it matched that purpley really well because it's got some of those tones in it. And I just finished them yesterday. So my first pair of socks I have ever finished right here, going to my lovely grandmother, who I am pretty sure is gonna love these and appreciate them like no other. So I finished these, which I was really excited about, and I kind of get it now. I'm understanding the draw a little bit more to sock knitting. Partially because it is a quick project. I make a lot of sweaters that I'm working on for months at a time, and this was like 2 weeks. So I get it. I hear the interest in socks, and it's fun to mix and match colors and stuff, and I really like, you know, the contrast color, the pop of the heel and the toe. And my grandpa also hand makes a lot of stuff. My grandma's like a big quilter, and she's the most amazing baker ever. She loves hand making stuff. My grandpa is a woodworker, so he also hand makes a ton of stuff. In fact, we have 3 different pieces of furniture from him. 4 different pieces of furniture from him. And I don't think I've ever made him anything. I usually just get him useful stuff that I know that he's going to use around Christmas, and I decided I bet he would just as much appreciate a handmade gift because he also makes stuff. So I'm making him a pair of socks as well. Now, I just started on these yesterday. Like, as soon as I finished these, I was like, I'm casting on the next pair so I can get these done, because it's just such a good feeling to get a project done. Let me grab what I have done on these. This is also using 2 strands of Hobby Lobby yarn held together, but for my grandpa, oh my goodness, I have like so many projects down here. They're starting to get tangled up. Oh, that's not good. Okay, here we go. I'm using this kind of cranberry red color, which I felt like he would really like. It's this. And again, there's a hair on this. I'm holding 2 strands together for this. I just got past the cuff portion of it, so I'm well on my way here. And then for the heel and toe, I didn't really have another skein of Superwash Merino that I could use, so instead I have 2 minis, which I was like, this is a great way to use up all the random minis that I have. And because I'm holding them double, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have enough of one color to do both the toe and heel of both socks. I used, I think, about 25 grams of the like red multicolored for my grandma's sock, and these are both 20 grams. So I didn't want to take that chance, so I'm going to do blue heels on both of them and green toes on both of them because I felt like that would be a little Christmassy. So that's the plan with this. I'm not terribly far with it, but I'm following the same pattern and stuff because I do feel like it worked out really well, and I like the look of it a lot and the general fit based on what I am pretty sure their sock size is. But that is my first current project. I still have a couple finished ones to talk about. I'm not done. So another gift that I have finished up that I haven't given yet because I haven't seen this family member yet is another one that I discussed. So last video I was working on this hat, which I have finished. This is the coffee beanie pattern, which I discussed last time, and the designer's name is escaping me. I'll put it on the screen somewhere. I can't think of it. But this is with a single fold brim and with yarn that was undyed that I dyed myself with Rit Dye, and I kind of love how it looks, so I'm really excited about that. I had 2 skeins of this, and so with the second one and a couple other random skeins that I had based on what I think this person would like, I made a scarf and I'm all finished with it. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, so I'm gonna intercut a couple pictures over here of it all finished. What I did with this is with each color block, I kind of did it as like a sampler to where each color has its own stitch type. So I can show you close up here. Like this light green, it's an alpaca mix. It is so fuzzy. I don't know how well you can tell. It's got this beautiful like halo on it, and it is so soft. But I did just a regular knit stitch, like a garter stitch is what I should say. And then I mixed in, this like creamy one is Fisherman's Wool by Lion Brand. And I actually, in this stitch, I found a mistake in one of my knitting books. So it is, I don't know if you can see it back there. I think it's called like the Knit Bible. It says 750 knitting stitches on the edge of it, but I think it's called the Knitting Bible. But it had like a checkered pattern there. It said unusual checkered pattern. I was like, okay, that sounds fun. But the picture was just a regular check pattern. I was like, all right, that looks nice, but this is not a regular check pattern. I don't know how well you can tell. It's got like a zigzag in there, which I liked. I thought it was really interesting. And then I actually did just a regular check pattern for the last section of it because I thought that would look cute. So that was an interesting discovery. For the like corally pink yarn, I did a seed stitch that I thought would give some interesting texture. And then I also had, finally, an emerald green yarn that was a cascade that I did. I don't know if there's a name for this. It's like what comes to mind, and this might be wrong, is like a broken rib stitch. So I would do knit one, purl one across, and then on the right side I would just do a knit row. And so it's kind of a rib stitch, but not really. And then I actually made a mistake one row and did it backwards. Like instead of doing knit one, purl one, I did purl one, knit one. And that's where I got that break there, but I actually kind of liked it, so I just kept doing it. So that was the final color, and I think it all came together really, really nicely. I think it's a very nice little matching set here, and I'm very excited to see this person and gift it to them. The last finished object that I have to talk about is the one I'm most excited to be finished with. I was so close to being done with it in the last podcast, and I have finally finished it, and it is washed and blocked, and I've worn it probably like 5 times because of how much I love it, and it is my neon sweater. Oh my gosh, I am so endlessly pleased with how this turned out. It is just the exact fit that I was going for. I absolutely love it. I wanted it to be kind of like a medium fitted, just super classic drop shoulder fit, and it is perfect. It's everything I wanted, and the fit is just exactly what I was going for. So I'm so pleased with it, and that's all I have to say. I have no notes. I feel like every time I finish a project, I'm always like, well, it's good, but I should do this next time. This is one of those projects where I am happy with exactly how it turned out, which maybe is the first time that's ever happened. So I really feel like I'm getting into my groove here with these sweaters that I've been knitting. So very, very happy. And I have actually a decent amount of this yarn left. I was honestly the whole time worried that I was going to run out because I only had one skein of each of these. And I have, I think, between 25 and 30 grams of each of them, except for the pink, because I use that for like the collar, and there's an extra stripe of pink in the sleeves. Like, you'd have to count them, but there's 4 of everything except for the pink. There's 5 stripes in each of the sleeves. I still have like 10 grams of the pink left. So I think I'm gonna make a matching set of socks. I know I'm like one sock crazy, but I actually had already bought a second skein of that pink because I knew that I wanted a little extra of the pink in the sweater, and so I was a little worried that just one wouldn't be enough, which I was very glad I had that since I came very close to running out. But I think it's just enough that I could make a pair of socks with like pink heel and toe that are like the same stripe pattern as this. How cute would that be? So that's like a project down the line because I have too much already started, but that is something I'm considering. So this is my big finished project, and I'm honestly incredibly proud of it. Not only because it fits really well, but I feel like it is a feat to make an entire sweater out of sock yarn. I used size 3 needles on this whole thing, and it took quite a while. But I feel good about it because I love things that you can layer, and I feel like this is just light enough that I can layer it pretty comfortably, which is kind of what I'm going for. So that's my big finished project, and that is the last finished object that I have to share, but I'm pretty happy with that because I think 5 of those were all work in progress last video, so I feel pretty accomplished. I feel like I've gotten quite a bit wrapped up and finished with, which is exciting. Now, the next section that I want to move on to is my current projects. I've already talked about the socks that I'm making for my grandpa. Those are pretty straightforward. The next one that I have, I mentioned in the last video, I was really trying to get it done for Christmas, but it just was not happening. And you know, you just kind of get to a certain point where it's like, I'm either going to force myself to finish this project and be not getting sleep and my hands are going to be in pain, or I'm just going to finish it a week after I wanted to, which is what I decided to do. So this is the sweater I talked about last video. It is my sweater inspired by Kermit, or this picture, if you remember, because I just can't get over how cozy he looks, and I want to be that cozy. So I've gotten a lot done on this. I have finished the body, and I did my collar here, which I am absolutely over the moon about how this collar fits. I love it. I did a double fold collar. I don't think I will ever go back to not doing a double fold collar unless I'm doing like a really lightweight scarf, because oh my goodness, it is just so poofy and it just gives it such an amazing look. I love it. But I finished the front, although not really. So I knit it all flat essentially, and I left it flat so that I could do the collar a little bit easier, and then I seamed up the sides. And it wasn't until I did that and tried it on that I realized I'm probably gonna have to go back and work on it a little bit more, because I wanted the front to be a little bit shorter than the back. I wanted a little extra length in the back, and I wanted to leave like a little slit here, but it's just too much of a difference. I want like 1 more inch. I feel like it should only be about 1 inch different than the back, and that looks good. This is just too different. So I'm gonna have to go back and add a little bit more onto the front, which shouldn't take long, but I only have 1 set of needles that's this size, so I haven't had the chance to get back to it. But that's most of the body finished. And then I have finished sleeve number 1, which I'll need to stitch onto it, but I wanted to do it that way specifically because I did some shoulder shaping. This was pretty simple. It's kind of hard to explain because I was doing my increases specific to like brioche stitch. Basically, what I was doing was using my dominant color, which is this darker green. Every time I got to the end of a row, I would cast on 2 more stitches, and then I would knit across with the like really light green, just regular, and then when I turned and did my dominant color again, I would cast 2 more on at the end of that row, which if you've never knit brioche, that probably sounds so confusing, but that's how I did it. It's not a massive curve. If you look at it from this angle, you can see it's just enough to kind of give a little bit of shoulder shaping, because I find that especially bulky fabrics like this tend to bunch in the shoulder if you don't have some, or not the shoulder, they tend to bunch in the armpit if you don't have some sort of shaping there, and I don't really like that. And then when I got to the cuff, I decided to do a double fold cuff as well, because I loved how that looked, the neckline so much. I'm going to do the same thing on the wrists. I made it kind of a crop sleeve anyways, so it'll hit like about here-ish, actually about where my sweater is that I'm wearing today. I didn't make this, but about right here is where it should hit. And I love the poofiness of it. I don't know how well you can tell, but that one strand of alpaca that I used is so fluffy. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to wear this. So I've got this sleeve done. I'm waiting to stitch this down because it just makes it easier for me to measure how long I made this. And if I can find it. Here we go. I am on the second sleeve and I am well into it. I would say not quite half done. Oh my goodness. Try not to lose a stitch here. Come on. But I am like this far into it, which is a good amount. I am well on my way. Maybe about halfway, but a decent amount. I wanted to have this done by Christmas. It's December 27th. I did not, but new goal, New Year's Eve sweater. Maybe, we'll see. I'm trying my best here. I will say, and I look back and I'm like, you fool. I said in my first video that I have had 5 skeins of yarn for this whole thing, and the one that I was not worried about at all running out of was that one random kind of darkish, tannish green that was like a thread, basically. It was one I got in a thrift store grab bag that I was like, I'm not gonna run out of this because it's so thin that I feel like it's just gonna go on forever. Well, I ran out of that one and I only had one of that. Honestly, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I used it throughout the whole body. I used it down all of one sleeve. Once I got to the end of that first sleeve though and was doing that cuff, I kind of realized that, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna have enough of this. So before I started the cuff, I just went ahead and ended that strand, and that way my cuffs would at least match, because it does have a slight color difference. It is really, really small. I don't even know if you could tell on camera. Probably. The neckline has that green in it and the sleeve does not. You can tell it's a little different. Like, not enough that I'm upset, and I think because they're not next to each other, you would probably never notice that. And I think even when you're looking at the actual stitches, like in the sweater, they don't really look any different, because I got through the whole first sleeve and I was like maybe 5 inches into the second sleeve when I ran out. So I'm happy to have finished a skein, but I think it's fine that I don't have it the rest of the way, and if it's not, too bad. There is no way for me to replicate or replace it, so whatever, I ran out. I did have to buy a second skein of this green mohair. I got to the end of the body, I only had about 20, or not 20 grams. It might have been like, no, it would have been 20 grams. Yeah, it was about 20 grams left, and I figured that I would not have enough for both sleeves, because usually just how I make my sweaters, the body and both of the sleeves combined are about the same amount of yarn, usually. Sleeves are a little bit less, but I was over halfway through that green already, and I just figured like I'm gonna need more. And so I bought another skein, which I'm glad that I did, because it was at the end of the first sleeve that I ran out. So I've been using this one for quite a bit. Yeah, I'm on my second skein of each of my solid sock yarns, and I'm on my, I don't even know if I know. I used a partial skein of this to begin with. Like 3.5 skeins in. These I don't think are as much yardage because it's like a pretty thick Surrey alpaca. I don't think it's like the typical lace weight. It's like 62 grams, and they're not labeled for yardage, so I don't really know. I would say probably about 200 yards. Yeah, but I love how fluffy they are, so I'm not mad. But that is how that is going. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling pretty good about getting it done. I have developed a love-hate relationship with brioche stitch. I partially love it because I think it is really fun and like so extra floofy because it adds that like dimension to your knitting almost. But also it is so much more time consuming than regular knitting that I am getting a little tired of it. I feel like it's one of those things that after I'm done with this project, I'm not going to do for a long time, but I don't see myself like never doing again. So I do like it. And I feel like it's one of those things that kind of forces you to slow down because it's so easy to kind of get in a mindset of like, I want to create and finish projects, get them done. So it's nice to have one that literally forces you to take longer with a project. So it's been a nice reminder, but I'm ready to have it done because I want to wear it really bad because it's super warm and cozy. The only other project that I've been working on, I have other work in progress, but the only other one that I've done anything on is actually brand new. I cast it on last night. I decided I have been very good about getting a lot of stuff done, and I have had this project in the back of my mind for months. I've just been trying to be responsible and get some of my current projects done. So I'll show you really quick. This is my inspiration photo. It's a sweater that I saw on Pinterest. You can buy this for, I want to say like $600, which actually makes knitting it by hand better alternative price-wise. Usually making hand knit stuff with you know, some like high quality wool yarn is not cheaper, but in this case it actually is. I'm actually saving money, as if I would have ever paid that amount for a sweater. But this is an idea I've kind of been trying to like workshop in on for a while. I know quarter zips are something that I think are so comfy. It's like wearing almost like a dressed up sweatshirt. So I have wanted to make it for a while. It just has not quite come to fruition, but I just officially started it last night. I am using what I have left over of, oh my gosh, can you tell like scraps of stuff all over the floor in my craft room? Oh my goodness. So a couple years ago I bought undyed yarn from Nomad Yarn, and this is like the last of the undyed that I have, I do believe, from that first order that I placed with them. It's one that I kind of accidentally bought. It's like a little bit more high-end than I meant to go. So they were having a sale. If you've ever been on their website, if you ever want undyed yarn, I think they have really good deals on it, especially if you wait for them to have a sale, which is what I've always done. But they usually come in a pack of 10, which I know is a lot, but I have used quite a bit of it. I knit a lot, so just leave me alone. But this is all I have left of the one pack that I bought, and I was like, oh, this is such a good deal. Well, it was actually a like luxury yarn that there's only 5 in the pack, so I paid twice as much per skein as I meant to. Oopsies. I did not read that close enough. It's fine. Everybody makes a mistake. I learned from it. But it is a really nice yarn. Oh my gosh, if I don't throw it. It is a really nice yarn. I believe it's part silk, part mohair, and wool. So it's really luxurious. It's got like a really small halo to it. I don't even know if you can see it a little bit. I feel like it's just enough though. I know a lot of people are sensitive to mohair and like it being scratchy, but I feel like it's just enough mohair to just make it fluffy. Like I love this so much. It is so soft. I have 2 and like a third skeins left of this. Hopefully it's enough. I think it's gonna be. But I have just barely started on it. I've got the ribbing done here. I'm really loving how it's working up. It looks really nice. I'm really going all out on the using tiny needles. I specially bought a size 2 needle because I feel like with a a sweatshirt, you want the fabric to be a little more dense. So I wanted it to be just slightly smaller. Like I said, that other fingering sweater that I just finished, I was using a size 3 needle on. It actually might be like a 2.5 size needle, because the interchangeable knitting needle set that I have is like half sizes almost, which I like having, but I think it's somewhere in the needles I use for that one is somewhere in between a size 2 and 3 US. This is a size 2 US, so it's a little bit smaller, but I'm really, really excited. I'm gonna put a couple pictures on here because there's way too many colors that I'm making in this for me to try and hold them all up, but I took pictures of them, the palette that I'm using, and I made a couple different swatches. I only took a picture of this last one, but it's just me like trying out different stitches and ways to kind of make different stripes in this sweater. We're gonna see how this goes. I've never put a zipper in anything. I had been thinking, oh, I need to go to the craft store around here and get a zipper to put in this, and I've been trying so hard to not buy craft products that I already have, and I know that that sounds counterintuitive because I am going to talk about some yarn that I bought today, or that I have bought. I will be talking about in the video today, but a lot of the craft products that I have, a lot of times I just forget about. So I've been trying not to buy fabric and just look through what I have. And the same with yarn, or the yarn that I buy, I try to just buy with a specific project in mind, or I have a lot of skeins that are just kind of like one-off random skeins. So I've been trying to buy yarn to be able to go with those and complete projects. I've been trying to be really particular about just using what I have. And so I was very excited. I know this is so small, but I was very excited because I went through my zipper stash and I found this little pink zipper, which matches the one color of like bubblegum pink that I'm using in it. And like, how perfect is that for like a zipper length on a quarter zip? You kidding me? Because it'll be like a turtleneck length. But I want to use a little pink zipper. This is actually, this is so random. I got this from a like discount clearance sale. All right, I've got to tell you this story. So one of my family members stopped in one day at my weekend job that I don't have anymore, but she was talking to me and saying, oh, did you hear about this like sale that they're having? Apparently this clothing manufacturer shut down. She said she thought it was Vera Bradley, which makes a lot of sense for what was there, but it was like a factory that had shut down, that they just kind of left all their crafting products there, and the people that had went and collected them bought them at like a super cheap price and were selling them at a super cheap price. And I used my lunch break to go there, and oh my gosh, it was so sketchy. So it was in this building in my town that used to be a slaughterhouse, and it had a handwritten sign that said craft sale and like an arrow to a side entrance. And I don't know if I was just crazy, but I was like, I'm either gonna get a really good deal or kidnapped. And let's hope that it was the former, not the latter. But I went in this side door, just a totally empty warehouse, and then there was another door with a little handwritten sign that said, go down this hallway. So I was like, all right, I'm in this now. If I'm getting kidnapped, it's just gonna be harder to get out of this building, because you go down like this little corridor, and then there was another room that you went into that was like a half-lit room that they had stuff set up on the tables, and they did have tons of discounted products. So it ended up being worth it. It was just one of those experiences that I was kind of like, is it worth taking the chance of like, maybe something bad is gonna happen to me versus I could get an amazing deal? Well, it was worth it because I got an amazing deal. They were selling cones of thread for $1 for brand new ones in plastic. And I think I got 20 cones of thread. I know that sounds wild because each cone had 6,000 yards of thread on it. I'll put a picture on here. I took a picture when I got home because I was awestruck by the amount of products I had just gotten. But if you spent $10, they also let you go through boxes of half-used cones, and you could pick 10. And I was in like the last half hour of the sale, so they said, take as many as you want. I think I took like another 20 spools because they were just gonna throw them away. I was like, I could use this. And because it looked like Vera Bradley stuff, it was all really bright color thread, which is what I use most of the time. But they had containers of zippers, which again, this could for sure be a purse zipper. And even just like, I feel like the pull tab on it like kind of looks like it could be Vera Bradley. I really don't know for sure, but I have a bunch of colorful zippers and that's where this came from. I think it cost me 10 cents. So that's what I'm using to put in my quarter zip. That's like one of my wild secondhand stories that I'm unendingly proud of. I have not bought zippers or thread since then, and my aim is to never buy thread again. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't think I'm ever gonna need to buy thread again. I have literally an entire box of it sitting in the corner of my craft room. So anyways, that's like a totally side story, but is one of those things that was sitting in a drawer that I discovered that I could use, that I was very happy to not have to go buy anything. So that is my next big project that I have just barely gotten started on, but I'm already having a lot of fun with. I feel like it's gonna be one of those projects that you just can't put it down. Like if you've ever done a striped sweater, or I know a lot of people talk about blankets that they've made with like mitered squares and stuff like that. Like when a project is broken down into different like small sections, it's so hard to put down because you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm only 2 rows from the next color. And then you start the next color and you're like, I want to knit into this a little bit to see what it looks like. And you just can't put it down. It's like so addicting. So that's my next big project. I'm very excited about it. I'm a little nervous about the collar shaping, but I've got some things worked out in my head, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I think that's it for current projects. I for sure have some that are still sitting behind my couch that I talked about in the last video that a few people recommended with that one blanket that I've had for like 5 years. They said just take it apart. And I've been thinking about it. I don't think I've ever done that. Because usually I'm like, no, I put this much amount of work into it. I don't want to take it apart. But it does just lay around and take up space. But I don't have any other plans for anything to do with the yarn. That's kind of why I was saying last video that I would consider finishing it, just donating it, because then somebody would actually use it and it wouldn't just be yarn taking up space in my house. So maybe that's what I'll do. I feel like all of my projects right now have too many, except for maybe the socks, but they have too many strands of yarn to take places with me. Like there's just too much going on. So maybe that'll be a project that I start taking with me places, because it's only one skein at a time that I'm using. So maybe I could do that. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. We'll see. That's it for current projects. I do have some plans coming up that I wanted to discuss, because as soon as I finish my Kermit sweater and these socks, I'm probably going to be casting on some more sweaters because I'm excited. The next one that I'm probably going to start, I am deeming my Barbie sweater. I think I might have talked about this briefly in the last video. I honestly can't remember. So on my birthday, I got some money and I used my birthday money to buy yarn. Because what else would I buy with it? But one of my absolute favorite yarn dyers, Ruby and Roses. If you've never heard of her, oh my goodness, please go look at her yarn. That's her Instagram handle, is Ruby and Roses. She also has a blog and website, and I just think she's like one of those dyers that is just like a color genius. I can't explain it. Her stuff just always looks amazing. She's got a huge myriad of colors, obviously some bright colors, and she does tons of speckled stuff. Her favorite color is pink, so there's tons of pink options to pick from. She does a lot of solids and tonals and neutrals, like literally anything you can think of. She sells. Her yarn is beautiful and amazing. I don't know if you can tell from the skein, but it's like so cushiony and puffy, and I'm just obsessed with it. But she released a collection over the summer. It was about her honeymoon to the not her honeymoon. No, it's just was it her honeymoon? I don't remember. It was a vacation she went on to the Canary Islands, and that's what the collection was called. And this was one of them. The whole collection was just magnificent. Oh my goodness. If I had money, I would have been buying so much more. But I got 4 skeins of this is her color Material Girl, and I had plans for a sweater. I hadn't really nailed down what I wanted to do out of it. Now, this is her sock weight, but it is so cushiony and plush that I feel like it's going to look a little bit bulkier than a sock weight, which I'm kind of excited for. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe I want like a puffy plush yarn to go with this, like a mohair or an alpaca, especially because I've been using more of that recently and I really love how cozy it makes projects. So I went on her website and was looking to buy some of the Surrey alpaca she had in this color, and there's only 2 skeins available because it wasn't like, I don't know, I think it was like October or November. So it was kind of out of season, and she hadn't done a restock of it in a while. Not that there's not a lot still on there, but I think that was kind of like a specific product. So there was only 2 skeins of it available. So I was like, well, that's not enough. So it's kind of a bummer. So instead I ordered, and this might be a risky move, I don't know, we'll see, I'm sure it's fine. But I ordered 4 skeins of Surrey alpaca sock weight from Woolen Works, which I'll put here. She did a Barbie collection after the Barbie movie came out, and she did a solid just Barbie pink that looks, I would say, almost identical to this. I am going to pair them together. I feel like there will probably be a small color difference because obviously like they're totally different dyers. I'm sure they'll have a different kind of combination of color tones, but at the end of the day, they're both like fluorescent pink colors, and I don't really see a downside to mixing fluorescent pink with fluorescent pink. So that is kind of my next idea. I'm not really sure. I feel like something textured or with like cables or something in it would be really fun. I have never knit a solid color sweater, which I know sounds like wild, but I just love color mixing. So I have never done a solid. So I'm really wanting to do something textural with it, because that's a lot of what you lose when you do a lot of mixed colors, is you can't do a lot of texture, else it's a little overwhelming. So that's my plans with this. A couple Christmas presents that I just got. The first one I have been wanting for months, but I just did not want to spend the money on shipping because it was coming from very far away. But I got for Christmas Kutova Kika's, or Veronica Lindbergh, her book Knit This, which I have wanted forever. I don't buy a lot of pattern books, but I feel like a lot of her patterns are just so classic, but also she has a lot that are just, I don't know, they're so outside the box and gorgeous. And I don't know, I'm just really excited for a couple of these. I've never made a cardigan, and I was like unsure of kind of the basics of it. This Lazy Cat cardigan is one that I think is going to be one that I'll make here soon. I don't know though. She also has in here this honey cardigan, which I also equally love. So I think I'll definitely be making a cardigan out of this, but there's also so many beautiful sweaters. This sweater that I just started on does have some really basic color work in it that I'm going to be doing. You might have been able to kind of see that in my swatch, but it's pretty simple. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like 1 stitch of color work essentially that I'm doing like 1 by 1. So it's nothing incredibly complicated, but also in this book she has, I don't know what this sweater's called. Hang on. The Dirty Caramel sweater, that's what it is. And it's so pretty, and I feel like would be such a lovely opportunity to really challenge myself color work wise. So that's one that's kind of on my list for the future, but I'm really excited about this. So that's going to be kind of some future knitting plans. And then the other book that I got is one that I have talked about before, but I have always had it as a rental from the library. So it is my Vogue knitting book that is now actually mine and not the library's. And this is one of my like biggest recommended books that, whether you're experienced or not, I would say this is one of the best books to have. It's basically like a giant encyclopedia of knitting. It calls itself the ultimate knitting book, and I would honestly agree with it. It is incredibly comprehensive. It is something that is just an amazing reference to have. It's got chapters on just anything that you can imagine. The one that I probably will be referencing the most is their chapter on designing sweaters, because they have so much information about different techniques that you can use and different shapings, and they have entire sections on designing shawls and accessories, including like mittens and socks and stuff like that. It's a giant comprehensive book, and it's really not that expensive. I looked at it on Amazon and I think it's like It's been on sale a couple times. I noticed it was on sale like 3 days before Christmas, and it was like, I think $23. Like, that's a pretty good price for a hardback book. I think regular price, it's maybe closer to about 40. But if you have the money, I highly, 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 highly recommend. So, those are books. My last section that I wanted to talk about is yarn acquisition, which is significant. I've been really trying not to buy craft products, like I've said, but most of what I have to share today has been gifts, so I don't feel bad about that. The first one that I want to talk about I did buy for myself, but it was kind of before the era of me deciding I need to use for my stash because it's an advent. I did buy a Christmas advent calendar this year. I'm gonna intercut some footage because I obviously have opened it all. So this is the box itself. It's from another one of my favorite dyers, Super Glow Fibers. She does beautiful, gorgeous, bright colored yarn, and so I was really excited about this. And I think the packaging is beautiful and absolutely worth noting. It came with these 2 adorable stitch markers. The box itself was disco themed, which you might be able to pick up in the stitch markers there. But it just had lovely packaging, so I wanted to share. And then that's part of the reason I wanted to wait till after Christmas again to film this podcast, because I didn't want to take the chance that I would show this to anyone who maybe hadn't opened anything. I did actually wait till all the days to open it. I was like good about it, even though I was really tempted sometimes just rip them all open because it's so exciting to see what you're gonna get. But this is the finished entire advent laid out in order of days that I opened them. And then also the final big skein, which I love. And honestly, I think they're all very pretty. I was very happy and excited with all the yarn in it. Overall, I really, really love the yarn. Now, I do feel that I have a couple notes on advent calendars as a whole. I feel like they are very hyped up. If you watch a lot of knitting content on YouTube, you've probably seen people doing Vlogmas, which if you've never heard of before, it's essentially people that are vlogging every day in December, all the advents that they may have, or the advent that they have, and opening it and talking about like maybe what they're doing with the yarn, things like that. They're pretty fun to watch, they're pretty interesting. So I was pretty excited about this entire advent as a whole. I have gotten one advent before. I bought Super Glow Fibers Valentine's Day advent calendar, and it was really, really fun just to have like a little mini skein of yarn to open every day. Like, that's so exciting. So I was excited to buy this. I purchased it, I think it was in July that she opened her pre-order. Actually, a lot of Christmas advents open their pre-orders in like May because it takes a long time to dye 25 skeins of yarn for however many people they sell it to. So I purchased this a while ago, so I don't really consider it part of my like not buying craft product ban era, even though maybe I should, but I was pretty excited about it. I would say as a whole, it is fun to open a little skein of yarn every day. It is fun to be surprised by whatever you're gonna find. It's an overall good experience, but I'm here to kind of de-hype advents as well, because I don't think I'm gonna get another one. It's not because I didn't enjoy it or because I don't like what I got. I do really like the yarn as a whole, but for a couple reasons. First off, I've been trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I buy and a little bit more practical about the yarn that I buy, and I do feel like advents are fun, but also a little impractical because all of the minis are so different that I'm not gonna mix them all together because I feel like that kind of takes away from all of them as a whole. I know I've seen a lot of people post about projects that you can do that use all of your advent minis, and I just don't really want to do that. I think that works better with some advents than others. If you watch Nitty Natty and her podcast or her Vlogmas, she had a couple advents that were like all pinks and purples, or one that was a fade. Things like that I think work really well with those types of projects. But if you look at all the colors that I have, they're all very different, which kind of creates a situation where I think it's kind of hard to get them to all look good together because there's just so many different colors going on, which I love, but makes them a little difficult to actually ever use, which is kind of opposite of the purpose of yarn. So there's that. I also think though that if you buy one of the sets that's like a fade or all pinks and purples, you kind of also lose that surprise factor, because you know, well, I opened like a yellow, it's probably going to be like a yellowy orange or a peachy color or something like that the next day, because if it's a fade, you kind of know what's coming, or if it's all pinks, you kind of know it's going to be pink. So it's kind of a trade-off. I don't know, those are just my thoughts. I know that I'm probably just too practical to enjoy Advents as much as I could. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing is I was kind of disappointed with the Advent that I got in a couple different ways. First off, I appreciated right as I opened it that it was like personalized. I'm hoping you can't hear that car alarm going off outside. Anyways, there's this little card inside that gives you like the name of the Advent calendar. It's the Groovy and Bright Advent Calendar 2023. Super fun. I love the color aesthetic. And on the other side, it's like a little note, and she signed her name, and at the top she wrote your name. But she wrote the wrong name. I'm not Luke, and I'm sorry, Luke, that I got your card. That was kind of a bummer right off the bat, I'm gonna be honest, because like it's really special, I feel like, when small businesses take that time to like give the extra like personal touch of, I put your name on this note card, and that's so special, because no big business would ever do that. But it kind of completely detracts from that when it's the wrong name. So I appreciate the effort, but also oops. Not a big deal though. Obviously, like, it doesn't affect any of the yarn or anything. So like, whatever, not a biggie. The other thing though that I was a little bummed about as well is I ordered the Advent calendar in all sock yarn, because that's most of what I already have, or that's most of what I use. And I got to day 6 or 7, I can't remember, real early in it. And I opened it and it is DK weight. Which might be kind of hard to tell. I can compare it. This is like one of the regular sock weights, which this is actually one of my favorites. But you can see the significant difference in size of yarn. So that was also kind of a bummer, because then I have one skein that I can't use with any of them. So even if I did want to do a project where they're all like being used together, one of them's got to be left out because it's wrong. And especially because it was so early in the Advent that I opened this, like in the first 6 or 7 days, it made me feel like anxious every time I opened it, because I thought, what if this one's wrong too? Like, it just kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. So that was a little bit of a bummer. Now, not saying like that's gonna be a commonality with any Advent you buy. I'm sure it's not. Just like simple mistakes, it's not a big deal. Like, obviously I have way too much yarn. 120 gram skein is not gonna break the bank here, so I'm not worried about it. But I just feel like as a whole, I was already kind of like, this is fun, but also pretty impractical. So I probably am not gonna buy another one. So I feel like that's kind of a bummer outlook to have, but that was just kind of my experience with it. And it was fun, but they're just really expensive, and hand-dyed yarn and really nice fibers or fibrous yarn is already kind of expensive as a whole. And so I just kind of decided it probably makes more financial sense to just buy what I know I'm going to use, rather than mysteries that I may not use. It's starting to get dark in here because it's winter and it's 5 o'clock, so why is it not dark already? Okay, that was my Advent. Now, I did ask for yarn for Christmas because I'm me, and if I don't buy it for myself, it basically doesn't count as a yarn acquisition, right? So I got 2 different like main types of yarn. The first one was also from Super Glow Fibers. So she did a mystery pack yarn sale, which is so fun. And I just like sent the link to my husband, was like, hey, she's selling these, this would be really fun. And like an easy thing that I can tell you for sure I will like. And so he did buy some of that for me, which I didn't know till I opened it on Christmas. And I really, really like what I got. So they were both sock sets. the first one I opened, and this is probably my favorite one of the whole set, is this pinky purpley yellow one. I just think it's so pretty. It's like all my favorite colors together. And it came with this neon yellow, which actually does kind of match. And then the second pack, I opened the variegated one. It's just this really fun green and pink and yellow. And it came with this orange one, which again also pulls from some of the colors. So I was really excited about these, and then he spent enough to get a free mini, and this one's also really fun and colorful. So I was really excited and really happy with these. I actually have quite a bit of neon solids, so that might be an upcoming project that I've been workshopping a little bit in my head. So that was my first yarn acquisition as a gift, and I really love them. I think they're so pretty and colorful. So that was the first thing I got. The other yarn that I asked for Christmas that I sent to both my mom and my husband's mom was Ruby and Roses. She had a Christmas pre-order going on in the, like, most of the way through November. I believe it was like the 26th or something that it closed. And I just sent them the link to the page for her whole Christmas collection and told them the weight that I would like them in. And if she didn't have like those in stock, or because I know like she had like limits that she set on them, kind of my second option basically. And they both bought some for me, which I love. Honestly, just my favorite gifts. And I feel like that was such a perfect situation because I was able to tell them like, this is the yarn that I would like, but they could pick any color. And I really did like all of them. Like I told them, any color you pick, I'm gonna like. And so my mom, let me get out the skeins. Let's see. My mom got two for me. The first one is this mistletoe mixer, which like, oh my goodness, was one of my favorites of the collection. It's like all these lovely pink and yellow and blue speckles, just so many fun colors together. Love it. And then she said I wanted to get a light and a dark. So the dark one is this Home for the Holidays, which is just so lovely, like moody color Christmas. I'm obsessed with it. And I don't have it yet, but I did buy some yarn to go with this. Let's see, it's Pearl Soho. You've probably heard of them before. They're a pretty big company. I have followed them since college, and I have never bought anything because it's just always slightly been out of my price range. But they had a sale on their good wool, which I'm hoping is not scratchy because it was a pretty good deal. I think it was like $11, $20, $25 a skein. I hope it feels nice. But I got like a green and a red and a dark brown to match this. So I'm thinking like that would be a real cute Christmas sweater for next year. Oh, and I got like a cream as well. I have some ideas, but that's a ways down the line. So that was from my mom. And then from my mother-in-law, she bought one of the like matching packs that was pre-made by oh my gosh, I can't think of her name. Her name's not Ruby. By the Ruby and Roses team. Addie, that's her name. Which I was also really excited about. I don't remember the name of the pack, but this was the one I probably would have bought for myself, and it's called Sub-Zero Sundown. It's just this beautiful purpley mauve, and it's got like some blues and greens in it. It's just so cozy. And see, this one's called O Tannenbaum. Oh, it's so Christmassy. I love it. And actually, do those go together? Ooh, I feel like those would look good together. And then it had a couple tonals as well. This one is Glitzy. Love a good pink. And this one is Golden Hour. And I feel like both of these, honestly, kind of vibe with this more like Christmassy one, which they might be into the Christmas sweater as well. I don't know if I could get away with not doing a pink in it, so maybe. We'll see once my other yarn gets here. And then finally, it also came with another one of these mistletoe mixers, which is exciting because that means I have two of these to use together now. So we'll see what this becomes. I don't have any ideas, but I've got a lot of Ruby and Roses, which is so exciting because I love her yarn. And I have another acquisition. Oh my goodness, this is bad, isn't it? I was just saying I'm not buying anything. The other yarn that I bought was my Christmas money that I spent. And this one, oh gosh, I bought it for a couple different reasons. First off, I've kind of wanted this for a while. I bought, I'll to show it to you first here. It's from Nomad Yarn, and I bought a 10-pack of their Surrey alpaca, and oh my goodness, it's like buttery soft. But I have wanted this for a while. I had been thinking about it, and then when I went to that wool festival this past fall and got the undyed Surrey that I'm using in my Kermit sweater right now, I decided, like, I know I really like this. And so I hadn't bought it because I was just like, I don't really have a lot of spending money. Well, Christmas money came along and this is what I purchased. I'm very excited. I'm also excited because a lot of the patterns in Veronica Lindbergh's Knit This book call for like a strand of either like merino or Surrey alpaca to be held with another strand of yarn. So I feel like this is perfect for my planning to use one of those patterns because I will probably use some of these. And I did look up before I bought this that you should be able to dye alpaca with RIT dye. I do feel like a little nervous saying that because once I was looking it up, I feel like a lot of people were like, RIT dye is crap, it looks terrible and like fades over time, which kind of bummed me out a little bit. Whatever. But I have used and worn stuff or projects that I've made with yarn that I dyed with RIT dye, and I feel like it's pretty color fast, and I always washed it really well after I dyed it, so hopefully it's the same case. I haven't really decided what I'm doing with that, but that is it for my yarn acquisitions, I do believe. This video is already going to probably be way longer than I wanted it to be, so if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. I am going to kind of wrap it up there. I think that's most of what I have been working on. I think in the future, I probably won't wait this long to do another podcast just because I don't really want my episodes to be over an hour usually, which I think this one's gonna be, but I just couldn't really at this time of year with Christmas and things. I was worried about people watching my podcast who I have not been able to give them their gifts yet, and all but one have received their gift, and I know that they don't watch YouTube, so we're good. That's all I have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed my many seasonal escapades and knitting and things like that. I plan on getting this Kermit sweater done in a few days and getting it posted. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably be first to see some pictures, and I will put the handles at the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back again here sometime soon.